Okay. Premium, main. Premium, main, premium, main. Mountain. Can Mountain be worth 3,000 points? No, it is a non-premium assignment. Non-premium cargo, rotatable value. Premium minerals, rotatable value. Non-premium keys is not a rotatable, it's a last resort rotatable. Premium shovels, rotatable. Non-premium last resort, no touch monster. Non-premium, no touch on the design challenge. Residential upgrade cannot be worth 3,000 points. It's a non-premium, last resort, no touch at that value. So, I mean, for the most part, you wouldn't do it unless you absolutely had to, because you wouldn't really want to waste the experience. But, like, if you had too many doorways building up to where you didn't have anything else to do, then you would want to rotate that in. Okay. So, starting off with the VU, that is correct. You get chemicals in return on your first starting doorway. War delivery. Okay. Correct. And you get coins. Second doorway. Starting doorway. Okay, so that's not a good sign. You got one more doorway when you rotate, and then you got a problem. Mountain. Tokyo delivery. Okay, so from here, you stop and you say, all my main tasks are done, right? Because we're not going to count storage as a doable assignment when it's constantly there. All main tasks are done. So now you have to do a task versus task comparison before you just jump into a premium versus a non-premium. So you have a Tokyo for 1,000 points that came in, okay? Just came in, literally just now. So that's what it's showing you. This doorway is showing you, I'm not going to be good to you right now. You need to move, right? If at all possible. The reason that that assignment is low is because you just did 3 assignments in a row that were over 2,000 points. You did 3K, 3K, 2,500, right? So your average is almost 3,000 points a task. Not quite, but almost. That being said, the game is now obviously going to give you something lower, which is why it gave you the 1K task. In order to keep the average high, you got to rotate something else. So what you have to do is you have to look to your next highest assignments, starting with the cargo, then the minerals. Now, I don't know if you showed a bottom screenshot, which I'm sure you didn't, because you never do. Let's go all the way back. Yeah. So you've got shovels, minerals, cargo. That's what it comes down to, okay? So starting with the highest valued assignment would be cargo, then minerals. So what you have to ask yourself is, if I am sacrificing those 800 points to do Tokyo, what am I gaining by my sacrifice? Okay, opportunity, right? That's what you're going for. Well, the opportunity right now isn't very good considering it just came in for 1,000, right? So the opportunity is actually going to be better on a different doorway, like the cargo. We don't know the history of the cargo yet. We don't know how it's going to be to us. This is a hit and miss assignment. That being said, you would want to say, okay, now it comes down to cargo and minerals. Which one's better? Well, the minerals would mean junking a bunch of feed. That is not worth the also taking less points, right? For a little bit better opportunity. So you would go with the cargo. You didn't go with the cargo, which means you screwed with the, rotation of things. So now the game's going to spit something different, right? So you do the 1K Tokyo. And you get a 1,500 metal task, right? So at this point, you've been given 2 factory assignments. And you have the one down below already. So the game's showing you it's going to be possibly flooding you with factory assignments this week. Now you're going to say, okay, I can junk the feed, or at least part of the feed to do the metal. Or I can take 300 points more and do a different doorway, one that has not been done yet, and gain those 300 points. You didn't do that. You went with metal. So you took a 500 hit on your score and a 1,000 hit on your score. Okay? Now you get a 3K task. Are you surprised? That 1K assignment needs a 3K assignment to combat it. And then you took one for 500 points less than the 2K average. Okay? So now you get your 3K VU. All right? And now you're getting hit with an 840. Not surprising, right? Because it's leveling you out. Up, down, up, down, up, down. So at this point, you say, okay, I can go 1,000 points less and do the nails because I've had one 3K task. One 3K task on this doorway. You had your 2,500 mountain and the one 3K VU on this door. Everything else has been below the 2K average. Doesn't make sense to proceed on with this door and sacrifice 1,000 points, right? Okay, so hang on just a second here. Now you go with cargo, which was correct. So now, how long have we been looking at this doorway? Knowing that this was the doorway that was going to be good to us, right? It was the one that made the most sense further back, so you know it's going to give you something decent now. So you do the cargo, and you immediately get the 2,500 task that was on the previous doorway. Okay? So you do that, and you immediately get a 3K war disaster. Okay? Now you get another main task. Coincidence? That's the doorway that we were looking at, that's the one that should have been rotated, that's the one that's been good to you? Now you get a 1,600 Paris. Okay? So after 3-4 decent tasks, it's going to start lowering you down again. So it gives you 400 points less than what the average would be. I can't see your average right now. So I think at this point you would come to me and I told you, obviously, here you would say, okay, this doorway has been good to me. So you have the 1,600 Paris compared to the 1,200 minerals. So you're saying, I want to sacrifice 400 points to do minerals? No, you wouldn't do that. Not on a doorway that you don't know if it's going to be good to you. You have to junk some of the feed to do it. And you know where the good doorway has been, is. So it only makes sense to do the Paris under these circumstances. So you do the Paris, you get mountain. Okay? So that 1,600 point task, in order to make that a 2K average, you need 400 points, right? Above 2K on the next assignment, which you got. You got the 500 points above the 2K. So you're actually 100 points above the average on that Paris. Then you get a main task, launch VU for 2K. So now this is the second time you've had VU. First time was for 3,000, second time was for 2,000. That's what we look to as your history of the assignment. We say, okay, this assignment so far has been at main task value. It's been good to you. You need to make a mental note of that so that you know if it does come in for 1,000 points later on, that if the history all week has been good, it's probably going to be good and be able to be rotated again throughout the week. So you've got your 2K VU. So here, you get repair. You've done repair once for 2,000 points. Now it's here for 1,600 points. It's not last resort rotatable. It's still holding a 1,600 point place value. So now we look at the surrounding assignments again. We say, okay, why would we choose this doorway over the other doorways? What are the pros? What are the cons? Well, it's double the value than nails. It's on a good doorway so far. So far, when you've made any bit of sacrifice, it's been combated with a good assignment, right? You don't have to junk any downtime worth of factory assignments to do it. So it only makes sense that you would do the repair. So you do the repair. Okay. Now you get a launch attack in Club Wars for 3,000. Okay. Right? So you needed 400 points above 2K to make up for that repair assignment. So you needed at least a 2,400 point task for the current task for 2,000 and the 400 points extra. You got a 3,000 point task. So you actually went, 600 points over the 400 that you needed to make up for that last repair assignment. Okay. Now you get a 3,000 Paris upgrade. So here's the deal. This doorway is still being good to you. Now, the game doesn't recognize what you've decided that you're doing and what you're not doing. That's not how the algorithm works. You don't just get to punch it into the computer and say, guess what, I'm a low-level player versus a high-level player. The game doesn't look at it that way. The game is looking at it like points values and assignments, right? It gave you a good task. Now you have to decide how you're going to make that work for you. How can you make that doorway open again without making it a problem for you, without making it cost you anything? So here's the deal. At this point, if you cancel right now, it's a game of odds. So you have to look at the risk. You're going to be taking a hit on your score, which you're going to have to take at some point anyway. This assignment has to be canceled at some point. Is it better to cancel it now versus later, or later versus now? That's what you have to figure out. So you have to ask yourself, do you know if the game is all of a sudden going to flood you with upgrades? No, you do not know that. If you cancel now, is it possible that it immediately gives you that upgrade back and you have to cancel again to open that doorway up? Yes. So it's actually more risky now to cancel, not knowing if the game's going to flood you with upgrades. So it's better to actually do a different assignment, see how the game is going to treat you, and then come back to your good doorway later. That being said, which doorway do you go to? Well, that will depend on what time of day it is for you, what you have prepped, how many factory slots you've opened up. That's what it's going to come down to. So let's say that your factories are wide open. Then minerals would be the correct choice, okay? Let's say that the factories are not wide open. It's nowhere near your bedtime. Then shovels would be the correct choice, because you would not want to take the 200 extra points to junk that much downtime for feed on a doorway that could be just as good opportunity as shovels. The only thing you're looking at, the only difference is that 200 extra points that the minerals give you versus the shovels. So you have to look at the risk that you're taking on for those 200 extra points. So either choice could be correct depending on what's going on in your game. Now that is why when you're making the assessment, you have to look at all categories, the game being one of those categories. That being said, you went with shovels. Okay, great. I'm assuming that's why you went with shovels. Here, you get the repair for 1,600. Okay, so this will be the third time that you've had repair. It's at the value of 1,600. It only makes sense to do it again. Doesn't make sense to junk more feed or to go with minerals just quite yet. Given that again, I can't see your average. I can't look at your points. I don't know if you're taking too much of a hit on your score, but just by, kind of brainstorming the last so many assignments, I don't think your average is low right now, so it's okay to go with the repair under those circumstances. If your average was significantly lower, then maybe the choice would be different depending on how many times the repair had come in. You have to look at how many times, it's come in for you. So you went with repair. That was correct. Now you get a delivery to London for 1,000. Okay. So here, this is the kicker, okay? This doorway, you did a 1,000 point shovels assignment, dropping your average by 1,000 points, okay? You need a 3,000 point assignment to correct that, but you didn't get one. You got a 1,600 point repair. So you went 400 points down again on your average. So now you're at 1,400 points negative since you started this doorway. Okay, you're looking at it from the doorway that you started it on. Now you get a 1,000 point London. Okay, so oftentimes what people will do is they will look at the overall average of their score versus the average on that doorway. Okay? So when you look at it like this, if you were to complete London, you go down 1,000, then you went down 1,000 on the shovels and 400 on the repair. That's 2,400 points. What do you need to do to make up for those 2,400 points that you're losing? You need at least one 3K task for every 1,000. So you need basically 3K tasks just to make up for these few lost points if you choose the delivery to London. That's not a good sign, right? So let's say that your average, this is at the point where you would look at your average in the game itself, and you would say, okay, where's my score at right now? I haven't collected any milestones, so it's not going to be compromised in that way. Can I afford to take this hit? If I take this hit, is it worth the hit? Because I also have to take a 2,000 point hit when I do that cancellation. That's putting you somewhere in like the 4,500 range of negatives so far. So does it really make sense to take a hit on a doorway that you have no history of it being good for you? No, it doesn't. Not at all. So at this point, you've done 3 assignments and you haven't gotten an upgrade. You haven't gotten anything good since you haven't touched your good doorway. Now you have to ask yourself, should I risk the cancellation or should I proceed on and attempt a different doorway? Mind you, if the more doorways that you take from the bottom, the more likely you are to milkshake your list. So the more likely you are to cause it to start flooding you with certain types of tasks. Usually they are upgrades, right? If you have upgrades in the list, then usually it's a different type of task, like factories or something. Under these circumstances, I would go with the cancellation if it was me. You went with the delivery to London. So you took another 1,000 point hit. So now you're faced with this situation. You can take another 200 point hit on your score and do the SAPs, which, okay. You can do that if you'd like, or you can cancel the the upgrade. Because the bottom line is, at this point you have to ask yourself, even if I get an upgrade, let's say you rotate SAPs and you get an upgrade, how much longer can you hold out before this doorway being blocked up really starts to hurt you? Right? So now you cancel the Paris. Great. Now it gives you textiles. Not great, right? So knowing that, you have to proceed on with the SAPs. Okay? You're probably going to end up prepping the text, depending on what value they... Okay, so they gave you a 1,200 text. So now you're going to do the SAPs, prep the text. Mind you, the first 2 doorways rotated are the coins and the chems. So that could be a possibility to have to open up one of those depending on how well your week goes. I don't know what your average is because I can't see the top of your list. Okay. So, SAPs. Now you get the 2,000 repair. So this will be the 4th time you've gotten repair in 20 assignments. All of those times you've gotten it 2 times for 2,000, 2 times for 1,600. Okay, so main task value, go for it. Now you get a 3,600 Old Town. Again, the game's wanting to give you good assignments, it's just wanting to hit you with some damn upgrades. Not a good sign. So, now, you may have to cancel again. We're not even, worried too much about this specific doorway, because the good doorway so far that we know of is actually going to be that textiles doorway. So, depending on if you already prepped the text or not, you could go with minerals to keep working. I don't know how long you have left in the contest. I can't see the top of your list. That is a big problem. I can't see your average, and I can't see the time remaining. That is going to, weigh heavily when it comes to what is the correct choice and what isn't. That's why I need to see the top and the bottom of your list at all times. So, right now, let's say that you are moving slow, which you did move slow this week. So that wouldn't surprise me. That being said, I would have advised that you go with the minerals, okay? Because you can't afford to sit there and do nothing for that long. Let's say you had moved quickly like you were supposed to do. Let's say that you had gotten this far within a couple of hours. Then I would say, you know what? You can sacrifice the time and wait and do the textiles. Because that technically would be the better choice of the two, is to wait and do the textiles first, because that's your good doorway. But because you dragged your feet, you have to sacrifice. And anytime you have to sacrifice, it might cost you later. Okay? So minerals. Okay, now I can see your damn score. So we've got, let's see here. 40,000 points, 22 assignments done. So you're a little below on your average. Starting to fall quite a bit, actually. Given that we have to cancel probably again, and you don't have anything promising going for you. 3 days and 15 hours remaining. Are you kidding? Dude, you've only done 22 assignments. The contest of mayor starts 5 days. And like some odd hours. And you're at 3 days, 15 hours remaining. And you've only done 20 assignments. That is horrible. Considering none of them have been long factory productions, not a one. You've had a metal assignment and a minerals assignment in terms of downtime. Repairs should take you seconds, especially at your level with your storage capacity and the group that we have. You shouldn't be hurting for items. You should be able to fill those requests fast. Like launching VU, launching war delivery, war deliveries, or doing work hard upgrades. Those types of assignments, they're fast. There is no reason why it should be taking you this long to complete 20 quick assignments. You're seriously fucking up your score by doing this. You absolutely have to move faster. Okay? So now you've got the minerals. Then you get hit with a 720 on the flour. So, okay, that doorway hasn't been good to you. We know that the good doorway would be the text doorway. So, given that you dragged your feet, it's a toss-up. You can either attempt to keep working and hope that you can get something opened up, or you can try to stay idle. I don't know how long it's been since you've prepped text, or if you've prepped text. You just completed minerals, so obviously I can't see the timestamp. Some people will prep something and then they'll take the next screenshot hours later. So let's see. Nails, okay, so keep working, makes sense. Now you get hit with another upgrade, at least it's at low value, but you do know that, hey, the game is going to be hitting you with upgrades. So your only option at this point, and I can't see the bottom of your list, but the only option at this point is to, A, open something up on a different door, which, look at your list. Where do you see that happening? So far, I don't see a spot to do that. Or go back to the original text doorway, hope that it's going to be good, and get that damn 3600 Old Town canceled. In order to do both of those things, you not only have to move quickly, but you have to make sure that you can afford a cancellation. Okay? So you did the text, that's correct. Now you're at 36 assignments remaining, 3 days, 12 hours. Okay. You get the minerals back. Now, minerals is not a high algorithm assignment. So remember when I say in my videos where I say door A, 1, 2, 3, leads back to door A? Remember when with the mountain assignment at the beginning, you did 1, 2, 3, and then it led you back to mountain? That typically will happen in repeat tasks. Okay? So with the minerals, it's not surprising that that's going to become a repeat task. Now, minerals being at 960, that doesn't really make sense, but it is on your good doorway. So, at this point, you've got, again, a couple of options here that you can decide on. Okay, you can cancel the old town and hope you get something opened up. Issue with that, number one, is you just had an upgrade roll in. You can assess your list and say, you know what? None of these doorways have been good to me. I need to go back to my first doorways at the beginning and attempt the chemicals. You could do that. That's going to be a hit and miss, though, because you dragged your damn feet so damn long, you really can't afford more damn downtime. And it is very likely that the chemicals return. The difference would be getting them on a different doorway, which you really don't have the time or the assignments to be dinking around trying to doorway flip a damn chemicals task for a maybe. Okay? So the more likely choice here would be to either, one, do the flower and hope that that opens something up, or to cancel the old town. Okay? Or, technically, you should have went with the epic task down below. I forgot that was down there. The reason that we didn't consider this all week is because we couldn't afford to. You didn't have the resources for it, you don't have the coins for it, you don't have the pointers for it. Like, we pretty much have to just ignore it. So that does play, somewhat of a role. If you were in a better position, like once you bought your 4 pointers from the sale, you would have went with the epic a lot sooner. Just keep that in mind. Just right now, we're avoiding it for obvious reasons. So now you can also do this. Here's the next option, because I forgot you had this down below. So the next option is to say to the game, okay, look, the game is going to go based off what's in the list currently, what's being completed, and what's not in the list currently, right? So right now, the game has been wanting to give you upgrades. If you can complete or eliminate some of these upgrades, you can get back on track and start getting some decent assignments. So you can go to the bottom half of the list and look and say, okay, I've got 2 800-point tasks down there. Because usually you always have at least one 800-point task. So if you only had one, you wouldn't really want to rotate this, because it would likely return with an 800-point task, because you could usually have one, right? Given that you have 2 800-point tasks, you could rotate the regular residential. Now, here's the sacrifice, though. This is where the brainstorming comes in. This is where you say, look, this week is not going well for me. I'm dragging my feet. My average is not looking good. My everything is not looking good. So, if I rotate this residential assignment, it could possibly open things up for me. Okay? Or I could end up wasting my experience, getting the assignment back for a higher value, and then, basically being forced to do it, and then wasting more experience, and then not winning anyways. That's where the sacrifice comes in. Now, right now, you're not too far gone. If you pulled your head out of your butt and you moved quicker, you could still win this week. So, there's your options. Cancel, do the upgrade down below, sacrifice more time and try the chemicals. Yeah, I mean, you got all different ways that you can go with this, depending on, like I said, what time of day it is and all that. If it was me, well, one, I wouldn't have moved so damn slow, but I would probably go with the regular residential down below to try to open something up. Which is obviously what I told you to do, because you wouldn't have done that without me telling you to. Okay. So, you do that. All right. There's your main task. All right. So, here's the next problem. Again, the game is giving you factory tasks. You are dragging your fucking feet, and it's hurting you deeply. So now, instead of you being able to say, I can afford this downtime, now you have to keep working. I don't know what time of day it is for you. If it was bedtime, then you could, say, okay, I'm going to go to bed and do the glass or whatever. I don't remember what our conversation was. You could say, okay, I'm going to do the minerals first and then prep the second half of the glass and see if I can keep working because I've got a few hours before bed. That's another option. I can cancel that upgrade down below. That's an option, but it's a risky one. Okay, so minerals, that makes sense. Now you get another factory task. This one's for sugar for 1360. Not on a good doorway so far, I don't think. I can't remember which one was your... Let me double check. Where is your textiles doorway? Oh, it is on your good doorway. That sucks. Okay. So, all right. Only makes sense to go with the glass given the value. So let's say that the glass was at like 1400 or 1500 or even 1600. It wouldn't make sense to take on 10 hours of downtime for 300 extra points, right? But because the glass is at main task value, it makes sense. In your case, obviously that's what you chose to do. Okay, now you get a 1K VU task. So you've had VU throughout the week. This is the only time it's come in for 1,000. Now, I mean, you could cancel because, again, you haven't had anything great happening, but it's also taken you a long time just to get a few tasks done. So you went with sugar. Okay. That being your good doorway, I guess. Now you get repair for 1,200. So, again, repairs come in like 6 times, something like that now. Now it's at LR value. So, we're just kind of going lower and lower here. Canceling the upgrade makes sense, and you immediately get the sugar back. That's not surprising, to be honest with you. That's the problem with the damn sugar task. Normally it doesn't come back quite that fast, but it's kind of a hit and miss. So, here you prepped sugar again. You can't afford more downtime, okay? You can't. You go with the flour and you prep the sugar. Looks like you have 2 days and 19 hours remaining, and you've only done 30 fucking assignments. Ouch. Okay. Flour leads to Paris. Paris leads to textiles again. So here's the problem with this, okay? Every fucking assignment you're getting has been basically factory productions and upgrades. So you either have to find a way to fit all of these damn assignments into 2 days worth of time, which is very unlikely because here's the problem. In order for these factory assignments to be worth it to you, they have to be either long factory productions with double downtime, it's the only time they're going to exceed main task value, or the short factory productions, and those ones don't hit main task value, right? So factory productions really aren't ever very useful. The only time you're really doing them is to open up the doorway, mainly, right? The assignments themselves, you're not trying to get those assignments in return. Like, how often are you like, God, I hope I get a factory assignment? No, you despise them. Because the only time they're worth your time is when they have significant downtime, and by then they've usually significantly hurt, your time frame to get things done. So in this case, you've got, again, a couple of options. Now, you could try the VU doorway, but it'll probably lead to an upgrade. You can try the textiles again, but again, it's probably going to become a repeat task. You could do the chemicals and see if you can get your starting doorway opened up. That's risky, though, with how many factory assignments have been rolling in. It's very likely that the chems just come right back. So, sugar doesn't make sense here. It just doesn't. You shouldn't have prepped the sugar. It was so you did sugar, and it came back one task later, and then you prepped it again. Shouldn't have done that. Okay. You had the textiles come in. Now you get a regular residential. You prep the text automatically. Don't do that yet. You can complete a regular residential relatively quickly. So you would want to do that, see what assignment you get. Because you're getting flooded with factory assignments, you have to assume that you're going to get hit with more, right? That being said, it doesn't make sense to immediately tie up your factories, does it? Because you could get slammed with a double downtime for sugar that is at main task value, and now you've got the damn stupid textiles prepped. You got to be very careful when you start your preps, okay? If you're going to continue working and you know the assignment is going to take you within 5 to 10 minutes, then wait. It's worth the 10-minute wait to see what the next assignment's going to bring you before you start a prep. Okay? That is exactly why. That right there is exactly why. Now you're in a fucked situation. You have a double downtime for feed. I don't know what time of day it is for you. It doesn't say on your screenshots. Now, had you moved quicker, this would have been doable. You wouldn't have had to sacrifice anything here. You would have been able to do it. If at any time you can leave certain factory slots to be, like, let's say some people, what they'll do is they'll screw up, and let's say they get an assignment for like 35 techs or something. They just say screw it, and they pick up all the feed. They think, oh, well, there's only 5 feed there, 7 feed there, however many feed. Never do that, even if it's only 2, okay, that you can leave to sit. Leave those 2 or however many to sit, because you never know what the over amount is going to be. That could mean 6 hours less downtime just by leaving those couple bags to sit, okay? So in this case, again, you do not have 12 fucking hours to waste. So you do the textiles, and now you get the donuts for 2,200. And you start prepping the feed. I'm assuming that you're only prepping the second half, so you're not tying up all your factory slots, okay? And you did the donuts. Now you get the 800 regular residential. At this point, you can stop working and waste 12 more hours, or you can attempt a cancellation down below, or you can try that VU assignment. You could also prep the chemicals and do those first and see if you can open up one of your starting doorways. But again, I probably wouldn't do that. You went with the regular residential. Okay. Interesting. Okay, the 2K delivery. 1K London. Okay, so now that doorway is pretty much fucked. All right. Okay. Downtime / bedtime. 3 upgrades in list. 1 factory feed. Prepping round 1. I assume you mean second round. I really hope you prepped like 5 or 10 feed and left the other factory slots open, because if you had gotten a plastic assignment there, or a metal or wood, you would have been able to keep working. But if you prepped the full feed, then you wouldn't have been able to. So it never makes sense to tie up all your factory slots. If you can prep the second half first, then wait till you start the assignment, then tie up all your slots. Okay, so when you do these lists or whatever, you have to come to a conclusion as to why you're marking them the way that you are, okay? So when let's go through it. So you said upgrade no. Okay. Obviously, you're not going to do, I'm assuming that means you're not going to do the 1K upgrade that just came in. feed, prepping, repair doorway trash. Even if it wasn't trash, you have other reasons, like it's at last resort rotatable value. VU doorway trash. Okay, well, the VU assignment has been good to you, though, right? Besides that one time it came in for 1,000. So you have to look at more than just the doorways trash. You have to look at opportunity of the assignment, value opportunity, everything, okay? Upgrade, no. Coins and chems, hell no, okay? Storage, maybe, but still too early. Epic should consider, not yet. Okay, so here's the deal. Whenever you make an assignment, a should consider, you need to make that choice at the beginning of the week. Is this assignment a doable assignment for me, or is it not? If you've decided that the pointers are, too much of a problem, then that's it. Like, that's what you've decided. You're not going to later bankrupt yourself right before the sale. Doesn't make sense. So actually, Epic should be just no touch. Keys, what should consider, not yet. No, that last resort rotatable. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. So, disaster, no. Upgrade, no. Disaster. What? Okay, I'll have to go. Storage risky, holding off to the end. Can complete twice. Remember, it can block, so hold off as long as possible. Keys dependent on what feed brings. VU, doorway trash. Maybe you only go back if everything else is bad. I don't know. Okay. So, oh, you mean the monster. The monster is a no. Okay, so that's what you mean by that. All right. Keys is still early. So remember, the only time you do last resort rotatables is when you're 1, doorway flipping, 2, in reverse rotation, or 3, you are at value over op. So far, none of those things are happening. Like, you're not flipping anything specifically. You're not in reverse rotation, and you're not in value over op. So that's out. Okay? So feed. Now you get text again. Again, not surprising. Here's the deal. You ever heard of a loop? I don't know if you watch those videos, but loops are usually assignments that occur at the exact same algorithm rate. So, like, you do a feed 2200, you get a 1520 on text. Then you do a feed 2200, you get a 1520 on text. You can have loops, so to speak, that are kind of a little bit separated. You know what I mean? They're like repeat tasks, basically. That being said, the only way to usually break these cycles is to change the doorways. So think of it like this. Remember when I tell you guys not to milkshake your list? Think of it like the opposite effect, okay? So when you have these doorways that are so consistent, where you're doing something and it's resulting in something familiar, like you did this assignment and you got sugar. Then you did something else and you get sugar again. Then you do the text and you get something else and you get text again. You're getting a lot of familiar assignments that don't normally have high algorithm rates, right? So the only way to break that is to change the doorway to something different. And usually that is something on the bottom portion of the list, because obviously the top portion is the doorways that are being rotated, right? Now, imagine this the other way around. Imagine this is something going good for you, right? Like you get a 3K VU, then a 3K delivery, then you get a 1K shovels assignment, and you go to the bottom portion of the list, and you don't stay in your comfort zone, and it screws up your rotation. That's what I call milkshaking your list, because now you're doing that to your list when you're in a good position versus a bad position. So you have to notice which position you're in. Right now, you're not in a good position. So now you need to change things up. You need to shake things up, okay? So it doesn't make sense to keep resorting to the same doorways that lead to the same conclusions, right? That being said, this is when you have to look at the lower portion of your list and see what is doable, What on the lower half of your list is going to yield the best opportunity with the least amount of points dropped, with the lowest algorithm rate, something that is doable within your game, okay? Problem is that, let me see if you have a lower screenshot here. Okay. Epic would be nice, but we can't do that. Storage, now might be a good time to try to flip that storage to an upper doorway, actually. Because if you look at what else you got going, you can't do the design, you can't do the monster. The keys will only return, and you still have quite a few assignments left. Epic, even if you could do the epic, I mean, it is a hit and miss. It will return. So the storage doorway, you don't have anything that is up above that is considered a good doorway at this point, right? So what's it going to block? So the benefit here would be to do the storage. See if that is a good doorway. See if you can break this cycle and get the storage on a different door, right? Technically, you could do the chems too because they're your starting doorway, but you dragged your feet so much that you really can't afford the downtime. If you hadn't done that, you could go with the chems. But again, it's a hit and miss. So my guess is, for fuck's sake, why would you? I don't understand. Okay, so you did the keys and you prepped the techs. Okay, assuming you left 6 slots open. All right. Again, you cannot afford to tie up your factories that quickly after you rotate, okay? I mean, you can't. Not when you have something that's going to take you seconds to complete. You know the keys was going to be a quick assignment, right? Not that it was the right choice by any means, but you knew it was going to be a quick assignment. Unless there's some reason you did the keys that I'm missing, I wouldn't have went with that. Okay. So, wood, now you get Expand City. So notice, here, pay attention, okay? Notice how you went to the lower portion of the list, and now you're getting the assignments that you haven't seen all week. A wood assignment, an Expand City assignment. See where I'm going with this? You change something, right? You change the doorway on the list, so now you're getting different things. So you get the Expand City, now you get a Launch Legendary, which you complete. Now you get a glass task. Not surprising. Okay, glass assignment you had earlier. It's at low value. You can't afford to take the downtime for that. So at this point, you still have the VU down there that could be rotated. You have the storage that you could rotate in. You went with the textiles. Now you get planks. Okay, now you get corn. So now you're at 1 day, 18 hours, and you still have 15 assignments plus tickets. That's terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. Okay? The reason that you move quickly, the entire reason for busting your ass is for this exact reason. It is so that if you get hit with long factory productions, that you do not end up in this situation. The contest of mayors takes way too much time on my end and your end. Money, resources, efforts, whatever, to lose because you didn't move quickly enough, right? So many scenarios can lead to this disaster where now you're having to make choices you would have otherwise not made simply because you do not have the time to complete them. That is when you start losing points. And that's nobody's fault but yours. Because if you had prepped and if you had moved quickly, that would be different. Okay? When you can move quickly, you move in lightning speed. Because downtime for a low-level player could be half a fucking day. And that is a problem. And the only time you're going to take that kind of downtime is when the benefit greatly outweighs the risk. Okay? So here you had 1 day, 18 hours. Okay. You got a 1600 regular residential, which you did. Launch war. Okay. Launched or delivery to Tokyo. So again, let's see here. Where did you? What did you? Huh? I must have missed something. Oh, it was the corn. Okay. Yeah. All right. 3K Tokyo. 2K Expand Mountain. Okay. 2500 Beach. Okay. Notice how you've been playing for the last 20 assignments and you haven't got any of these assignments until you reach down on a different portion of your list. That is the issue with locating good doorways, okay? The idea is that you don't want to burn through too many mistakes before you locate your good doorway. It really makes sense to narrate your week. So when you go into your week blindly, it doesn't make any sense, right? But as you've been watching your video just now, and I've been narrating it, you can kind of see how things transpired. You can say, this is how I got here. This is what should have been done. This is why I ended up in this situation. And this is how things are, progressing, right? Whereas if I was to just not send you this video and pretend that this wasn't your week, and I just randomly sent you a screenshot midweek and said, fix this. What do I do? Or, here's my album, look at it without narrating it. It doesn't make much sense, does it? You're looking at it like, what's going on here? How'd we get here, right? It's a story, a whole story of how you got here and what should be done. So that is why when you look at your album, when you look at your week, you have to narrate your own week. You should be able to come to me and you should be able to explain your entire week with detail. You should be able to do what I'm doing now, but with actual explanation as to why you did what you did. So whenever I take my screenshots and I do a video for me, for you guys, I can say, okay, right here, I went with this. These are the reasons why I went with this. This is how I prepped this. This is exactly how many I put down. It's a story, right? And things will start to make sense. But if you're just doing an assignment and then half-ass scanning over your list and then completing another assignment and not looking back at your own screenshots, how many times did you go back and look at your doorways? How many times did you go back and try to find patterns and algorithms? Did you ever? Even once? Because you should have been. You should have been going back and looking and saying, okay, what can I see here? What can I look at in this list that would make something change up? Usually when I narrate a list, I can look at your guys' stuff and I can see the doorway that you're skipping over. And I can say, there it is, that's the one you're gonna do, and I can get you guys out of the hole that you're in, right? You should be able to do the same thing if you go back and look with a fresh set of eyes. So you've got your War Disaster upgrade. Now you've got your Lunch Legendary, which are, I don't know how much time is left. I don't even know if we're in war anymore. Expand City, okay. Now you get the 1800 smoothies. Your leaderboard is pathetic, so that's good. Okay. Value over op. Was about to continue with smoothies, but I remembered this. Maybe too soon if using tickets, but close enough. So storage, here goes. Maybe not. Typing as I think. If storage turns into an upgrade, that would make sense. Only 3 in list. Can do storage twice, plus there's downtime. Let me see. So since you can do storage again, how many assignments do you have left? 7. It's risky. It is. And I'll tell you why. So if you do the smoothies, they're pretty quick. You can put them on a silver token even. When you do the storage, typically comes back within 3 assignments, right? So if you do the storage now, wait, where are you at? Yeah, so 6, 7 assignments. And you do the storage, you get an assignment return, okay? And then let's say you do the smoothies. Then the storage will likely cover the smoothie doorway, which has been the only doorway that's been good to you so far, okay? You can easily do storage 2 times and gain those 6,000 points without taking on that level of risk, right? You've already shaken up your list. You've already got your good doorway uncovered. So right now, you're taking on more risk than you are benefit. I mean, you can try it, but it is, I mean, at least if it does cover the smoothie doorway, you do have one more upgrade to do it on. So you could do it. It's just a little bit more risky that way. So either choice would have been correct. I'm not going to say that's wrong. Okay, so you did the storage, and you get the 1920 on watches. So now watches become the correct choice. All 3 ready. I don't know what time of day it was for you, but if it was daytime and you prepped glass, that was a dumbass move, okay? It was. So for a 1,200 point task, think about it. You've got repair and keys that can come in for that value, right? That take no downtime. Same amount of value. You've already at the point where it's damn near value over op anyways. So it did not make sense to take on that level of risk by clogging up your factories for a 1,200 point glass assignment that could only come back to bite you in the ass with either downtime or coming back for more points. So tying up your factories was a bad call there. Now, if it was bedtime, it was still a bad call. You could have prepped feed, which is not in your list, which could have come back for more points. You have to learn how to prep your stuff right, because especially when you're without time, okay? I wouldn't have even messed with it. Not even. There's no way in hell. There's other assignments that are value over op that are much easier without the downtime that are not going to be that level of risk for you. Okay, so here you would go with the watches, which you did. Okay. Now you get plastic. Exactly why I would not have prepped the glass. Because now you're junking all of that glass for plastic. At some point. Right? And if the plastic would have come in while you were prepping the glass, it would have been a bad call. If you were prepping the glass before bed and you get feed, then it would have been a bad call. So either way, the glass was just a bad call all the way around. So here you would go with the smoothies. Now, mind you, you still have that storage out there, so it's probably going to cover up your good doorway here soon. All right, now you get minerals. So here, you're at 4 tasks remaining, plus 15 tickets. You're not quite at value over op just yet. You do realize that you have that VU down there that you haven't rotated in a long fucking time. That could, one, open up the VU doorway. Because here's the deal. Once you hit tickets, that's it. You can't do op over value, right? You've got 4 tasks to rotate that VU in. You also have that storage assignment out there. So it's highly plausible that if you do the VU, you're going to get the storage, right? That would be better than having the storage cover up the 2 decent doorways that you have. It'll also open up the possibility for the VU to come in, right? So I absolutely would have went with the VU here. You went with minerals. Now you get a 1,600 regular residential. Now here, again, I would have went with the VU. You went with the regular residential. You're not quite at value over op yet. You've got, it's the last 15 assignments in completion, right? So you're leaving a 3K possibility down there to sit when it's been good to you all week long. And you still have a storage assignment that needs to be rotated back in, okay? Okay, so you do that. Now you get a 1920 on tables. Now that becomes the correct choice. Now you get a 2,500 beach. Now you're on value over op. War, which I don't even think we're in war, so I assume you did that on the monster. So, assuming that we're not in war, which I'm not sure if we are or not, but saying we're not, that's another bad call, because what if the monster cost you money? What if he was there and you couldn't do a rare attack? You know, I mean, that would have really hurt you, you know? 3K Paris. That sucks. So now you have to move to your next highest, which would be plastic. Wood. Expand. Storage. Expand. Delivery to Tokyo. Ladders. Beach. Storage. Oh, I guess you did it again. Okay. 1,800 on cement. More deliveries. Now, I know we're not, I'm pretty certain we're not in war anymore. That being said, did you have to pay for the monster? If so, how much? Was he there? What? 2,400 regular residential. 2,500 mountain. 2,000 London. Okay. Hold up. 14 hours, 5 minutes. You were at 166,490. 66490. 2 hours, 166,490. 6 seconds, 195,690. Okay. First place. All right. So here's the deal. For 195,000 with the milestones. So before that you had 160. You should have been a little higher, but let's look back and think. How many of those assignments that you did were the Expand City, the storage, and the beach and mountain? All of those assignments held you at a 2K or higher average, making up for any lost points, right? You're not going to have that crutch for the mountain, the beach, the Expand City, and the regular residential. You're not going to have that crutch again. So you got to learn from these mistakes now before they come back to bite you in the ass. The whole reason that you guys saved the beach and mountain is for this reason. Is so that you can learn from your mistakes, so that those points carry you throughout the first few weeks in Mega. And once you learn from those mistakes, you don't have to, worry too much about that, and then you don't have to worry about that crutch. But you're not going to have it much longer. Like, I don't know how many beach and mountain you have left, but you're probably damn near out, right? So you're already basically out of level 24 bar experience. So you can't afford any more fuck-ups on the upcoming weeks, especially if you want to buy anything for the sale. You've got like one more week to do it, right? So what I would do is this coming week, you need to get your ass in gear, make sure your shops are prepped, your factories are prepped, and make sure that you move a lot faster this time, okay? You're not going to be able to do epics, so you can cross that off. There's no point in wasting experience for that. And try your hardest to understand why you're rotating what you're rotating. Focus on the reasons why you're doing what you're doing. Look at that categories list and say, okay, these are the categories I'm looking at. Hopefully the way I narrated it this week made any bit of sense to you.